This is a speed concept matrix, and in a matter of moments I will tell you how to use it. Hello, welcome to Honey of Knowledge. In this video, let me brief you about how should we use the exam information which you have to strategize which kind of questions to practice and how many questions to practice. Right? So let's begin this video. If you look at the speed concept matrix, the best thing over here is you need to categorize the questions, rather not the questions but the question paper of various exams into these four quadrants. Now obviously the quadrant way of categorization is not entirely new, but this speed concept matrix is something which I have come up with to help you all in your exam preparation. So listen to it very carefully what I am going to say to you right now. When you look at an exam like JEE, the Joint Entrance Examinations for IITs and NITs, the questions are primarily conceptual questions. There are few questions which are direct questions, and more questions are direct in JEE mains, but in JEE advanced a lot of questions are not direct, they are conceptual in nature. Now if we talk about MSQE, ISI MSQE, now a lot of questions here are conceptual in nature and they do not require a lot of speed but an in-depth study. That is why I've written ISI MSQ in-depth study. But for JEE advanced, a lot of questions also require speed. So for JEE advanced, you have to have a good conceptual understanding as well as a good speed. So that is like the most difficult aspect of any exam. So if you are in quadrant 4, you have a really tough job in hand. You have to manage the speed as well as gain good conceptual understanding. But if we talk about ISI MSQE, it does not require you to be that fast. It requires you to have good conceptual grasp. So with that idea, we need to proceed further and see what other exams we have on this matrix. If you look at CAT somewhere falls between conceptual and direct, and it requires a lot of speed as well. So in some ways the preparation which we will do for JEE would be similar to CAT but not exactly, and JEE CAT preparation will be entirely different than your MSQE, DSE, IGIDR and JNU preparation. Now I have made these lens kind of a shape to represent MSQE, DSE, IGIDR, JNU, other economics entrance examinations. And if we go below, the conceptual understanding falls. Now obviously this is a controversial topic, or rather contested topic, that is this ordering correct or not, but get the essence here that I am putting MSQE as the exam which requires more conceptual understanding, and I probably feel you also would feel the same about it. So let's just have that assumption in mind. So if you have MSQE, speed is not required, you need conceptual understanding. So how will you build that? Will it come by solving 1,000 questions? No. Will it come by solving 100 questions? No. So what is the answer? I remember when I was studying under Pratyush Kumar Singh, my physics teacher during JEE days. Now I have also made a video on Pratyush Kumar Singh. You can check it out from this. He used to teach us in such a way that it was really phenomenal. First thing, the most conventional thing which people do, people take down notes in their lectures. His idea was that you need to be present in the class and understand everything, because you will get everything written in almost every book which you read. So you need to understand and internalize the concepts, which I believe has been a game changer. But yes, a lot of people still do not digest this properly. They still have their old mentality which make them very slow and lethargic. Next is not solving a lot of questions. Solve the questions which you really want to solve. I'll give you a scenario. Let us say I solve 1,000 questions, and if I give you 1,001th question and if you are not able to solve, it means you have not mastered that concept. You have just solved similar questions with the numbers changed, And that is the problem with a lot of students and a lot of people like us. We do not try to find out the battles or questions to solve, because a lot of battles in our life and a lot of questions in our life and exams are very similar in nature. So once you master a question, do not look at that question with numbers changed. Try to analyze that question. I'll give you what I'm trying to tell you over here. Whenever you make a good cup of tea, you hammer down the ginger, right? The ginger tea. Now, hammer is not the right word, but whatever the word may be in English, you try to bring out the threads of the ginger. Now, when you take out the threads of the ginger taste which you put in the tea is so ingrained, its essence is all spread throughout the tea. That kind of threading I need from a question. So when I look at a question, it should be threaded out, it should be shredded out. Entire nuts and bolts of the question must be taken out, it should be disassembled, and then make your own 10 questions from every question. That is how you must prepare. Take a question, solve it in a very dedicated way. If it takes 1 hour, give it 1 hour, and if it asks you to think about it for 1 day, give it 1 day. But try to find out what all situations this question can be made complicated into. How can you solve it in a different way? How can the questions be made so that it won't become solvable? So how will you do that? You cannot do that by solving 1,000 questions. You can only do that when you limit your focus to limited number of questions. Now, what is that ideal number? Is entirely your personal discretion, and I will leave that up to you. But for me, if I have to tell you how I look at exam preparations, every chapter, every concept has only a limited number of question types, and once you master the question types, you do not need to solve a lot of questions. You just need to know how to proceed with this type of question. So let me just go back the speed concept matrix and help you with this. When you are in the first quadrant tells you that, boss, this exam requires a lot of speed and the questions are direct. So what you must do? You must solve a lot of practice papers, a lot of mock tests, a lot of timed mock tests in exam environment. And how do you make that exam environment? Lock your room, go to a place where you won't be disturbed, and try to take that exam like you are sitting for a real exam, so that when you sit for the real exam, it should feel like a mock. I remember when I was preparing for JEE entrances, the thing here is I used to read a lot of success stories. Now, why did I read so many success stories? The reason is you cannot replicate any success story, but you get a feel about how and what students prepare and what goes inside the head of a topper. Now, that is something which is very valuable. And in those days, my days basically, there was no YouTube. There was YouTube, but I did not have access to it. So how and what did I do? I went through the success stories in magazines, in newspaper articles, and a couple of times maybe television shows. So I tried to distill what they are trying to say. So in one such video, there was a video shown to us by Fitji. Now in that video, a topper was saying that whenever I used to give a mock test, now in Fitji the mock test is known as AITS, All India Test Series. So he used to think that of every AITS as a JEE exam, and in that process he described that when I sat for the real JEE exam, it felt like a mock test. So that is how you must prepare, that every mock exam for you feels like a real exam and the real exam feels like a mock. Now this obviously is a bit of mental hack and playing with your mind, but this definitely helps you in the long run. I personally realize that has helped me a lot in my JEE preparation, and you must also try that. And if you think about CAT is the ideal exam for such kind of mock preparation. But the thing over here is only and only CAT requires so much of practicing of question papers and mock papers and mock test series. Once you go to JEE, JEE has a requirement. First, you need to be conceptually clear. So whatever approach I will tell you for ISI MSQE is given for JEE. The first stage is you need to follow this approach for JEE and then move to the CAT approach. So JEE preparation is a bit difficult because of this nature, that first you need to shred out every question, understand every concept thoroughly, and then move on to the CAT style preparation of giving a lot of mock tests. So obviously this creates a lot of difficulty for people who are 15-year-old, 16-year-old. They have to do a lot of mental exercise. Now as they are very young, they are agile, so they can do it. But if you are preparing for MSQE or DSE or IGID or JNU, do you need that preparation? You don't, because you are not in the speed regime. You do not require a lot of speed. You are at max at the second category or at worst at the third category. So if you're in second and third category, you do not need to have a lot of speed. What you need is a lot of conceptual understanding. So how will you get that? You cannot get that by solving a lot of mock papers. You can only get that by solving limited number of questions in an in-depth way, and that in-depth way will change your life for good. And as an aside, no competitive exam would really change your life, as in the outcome would not change your life, but your preparation would change your life. Your approach to life would change. You won't look at problems and try to find a ready-made cut copy paste solution. You will try to immerse yourself into that problem and then try to have your own solution, because remember, nobody can have a problem which is the same as someone else's problem. Your problems are your unique problems, dependent on a lot of factors. So with that understanding, I would not like to stretch this video further, but I will again reiterate that you are in the third and second regime. You require only conceptual understanding, not speed. So you want to solve few questions, but in a way which you can master them. You have to master those questions. If you have not understood those questions completely, you have not shredded those questions, you have not dissected those questions, you have not killed those questions, you will suffer a lot. Rather, you will pay a price for it. By solving a lot of questions will not help. It will just kill your time and it will just keep you occupied. So don't be a donkey. Be a smart person and solve the questions in a way which helps you conceptually. And yes, my agenda with this video is to introduce to you the idea of concepts and question types. So in a future video series, I might teach you what are the question types in MSQE for various chapters. But yes, that would take time and I cannot promise you a timeline on that. So yes, to get updated on that, do subscribe to the channel and also do not forget to watch the other videos in MSQE preparation series.